I would like you people to ask me whatever you want to know about different opportunities and prospects and career in IPR.
Yeah, so I'm in the final year of my 3-year law course, and so as you said, when I'm going to pursue that postgraduate diploma in IPR. So my question is, I personally am not interested in the litigation side of the IPR. I just want to know what are the scopes in corporate law with respect to IPR.
Corporate laws or relating to non-litigation work in IPR?
Yeah, you summed it. Yes, non-litigation work. Yeah.
See, I'll tell you very frankly, dear friend, IPR is a big ocean. And within that big ocean, there are small oceans. If you are not interested in litigation, you can always go to the documentation part of IPR. There also is the other part which is called as we call it as an economic aspects of the IPR, where we have something like IP audit, IP due diligence, IP licensing, and so many other avenues as far as the non-litigation part is concerned. Like prospecting an IPR itself is a big field in itself. That's a basic work we do in IPR. Prospecting a particular IPR, like prospecting a trademark, prospecting a copyright, prospecting a patent, that itself is a very big work.
Sir, there is a question which says how to start a career in IPR.
Start a career is basically start at least basic equipment of the knowledge of IPR. Fundamentally, you should be very clear what is IPR. What is happening today in the legal field is what they are trying to teach is only the law part of it. But you should be very well versed with the fundamentals of the IPR. Your fundamentals and basic principles should be very clear. Like you should understand that IP system, IP law is two different things. You should learn both the things and you should know the difference between these two different things. And start with the basic skills in IPR. You should know that subject thoroughly very well. Like if you want to do a small course, even apart from the universities existing in India, there's an organization called waipu.org. They have small courses to induct you or to basically give you an orientation in what is intellectual property.
Could you explain the meeting point of tech law and IPR?
Tech law and IPR is absolutely, you have to understand one thing, that technology runs very faster than the law. Yeah. So meeting point of tech law and the IPR, like I'll tell you very frankly, I am basically more deep dive into patents law. Now patent is 30% technical and 70% legal. You need to cross that bridge between the 30% and 70%. Like I have dictionaries in my office of all the kinds of dictionary. I have chemical dictionary, I have medical dictionary, I have electronic dictionary, I have mechanical dictionary, I have biotechnological dictionary. At least 11 to 12 types of dictionaries I have, and I equip myself to understand technically what it means, what person is trying to do in technology terms, and then I try to really meet a gap between the law and technology in terms of whatever it is. I think if it is a prospecting of patent, then I draft the patent accordingly what is required legally, understanding the technical. So it is very important to understand the technical point in patents. The technology, until and unless you know technology very well, you will not be able to. Now, unfortunately, in India, we do not have patent practitioners to be lawyers because they feel that a person with science background only can become a patent lawyer. Now, that's okay. That is there. We can always make representations. Like in US, there is a system that if you want to become a patent attorney, you need to complete 40 to 50 hours technical training in particular subject. Then you qualify and become eligible to appear for patent attorneys exams, clear that exam, and then you become a patent lawyer. So you have a mix of technology and law together. But you need to keep the pace because technology runs very faster than the law.
Are IP laws and media laws related?
Yes, of course they are related. They are related. See, media law regulates the business part of it. The media law regulates that's what exactly I said. You need to understand the IP system and the IP law. So you need to understand media laws are nothing but actually they regulate the business and the function part of the media industry. Now within that, media industry's business and the function part, what is something which is IPR, you need to understand and meet the needs of the industry and the function both.
There's a question which says, sir, any idea where we can pursue diploma in IPR? Any idea about FICCI course?
Yeah, FICCI, see what is happening, FICCI is doing certain courses, but what is happening, this Chambers of Commerce, they basically are IPR awareness implementing agency. See, there's something called National Policy on IPR, which the government of India came out in 2016. That is what is National Policy of IPR. In that national policy, they have certain kinds of awareness programs to be conducted. Now, anybody can conduct those awareness programs. So what has happened, government has insisted these all Chambers of Commerce to become an IPR implementation agencies. And through that IPR implementation agencies, government is trying to give lots of benefits to the various participants of the IPR industry. And one of the functions of this IPR implementing agencies is to conduct short-term courses on IPR. Like I have myself done a small course on FICCI, which was on IP commercialization. Now IP commercialization, again, it's a big ocean in itself. Like there is a big history behind what I have studied in last 23 years, that out of 100 patents granted worldwide, not only in India, out of 100 patents granted worldwide, only 4 to 5 patents are commercially implemented and executed. The remaining 95% die their own life. So does it mean that they were not worth granting? They were always worth granting, but nobody is able to take them to the commercial level. Like technocrats knows to create technology. There is somebody who is required to do the execution part and convert the technology into good product or a good service. That is where also IP commercialization plays a role. There is also something called IP asset management. That is again a different angle to the IP perspective. I told you, IPR itself is a very big ocean, and within that big oceans, there are small oceans. So FICCI they conduct courses, but that is pertaining to specific subject matter, like they are doing on IPR commercialization. Then IP licensing, it comes in the IPR commercialization. Then IP audit comes in IP commercialization. So IP commercialization and IP asset management are two different things. Like if I am having a portfolio of IPR and I don't know what to do with that, like if you see the startups today, startups have technology. They don't know how to protect the technology. And if they know how to protect, they don't know to commercialize this technology because they are technocrats. So what happens is the role of an IP attorney or an IP counsel is to really help them in protecting and leveraging that for the purpose of business. That's what also another field of IP practice.
So, sir, would you be able to guide us as to the institution one must go to for studying intellectual property?
Yeah, I'll tell you, this was the same question I asked to one of my professors, that which is a good book for IPR. So he told me all books are good and all books are bad. The book is good which you understand better. So institutions are just a platform. You can go to even Bombay University. We have Bombay University conducting courses in various colleges. Like I am also part of Government Law College. They also have diploma in IPR. NMMIs have a diploma in IPR. Even National Law School has an IPR. Nalsar has IPR diploma. So there are various institutes. Even some institutions and universities are conducting LLM in IPR. So it's only a platform. You need to just, I said that to begin with and practice, you need to have at least basic skills. So these are all platforms to create basic skills. It is not that these platforms are going to help you establish your career. You have to establish your career. You have to just take them a helping hand from them.
Sir, just now you mentioned that there are non-litigation options which are available in IPR.
Yeah.
What are the different sources and options?
Like see, IP licensing. Like I met one professor from Germany called Heinz Godard. He's a very famous personality in the IPR world. He only practices licensing in Germany. He only practices IP licensing in full of Europe. And one of the best professors I have ever met. He's 87 years today. But still he's working and practicing and he's still teaching. At the age of 87 also he has energy and power to teach IP licensing. He's so passionate about IP licensing. IP licensing is absolutely a small ocean within that one ocean. Then you have IP commercialization. Then you have IP asset management. Then forget that there is also one more ocean called IP valuation. It's going to be very important issues in coming days. Who will value the businesses? You cannot value the businesses without valuing IPR. Like in today, internationally, whatever mergers and amalgamations happen, they're actually happening for IPR. So IP valuation is also a non-litigation field. IP valuation is itself, like you asked, intangible valuation, it's a very big issue in this country.
I'm a final year student, and so my question to you would be that what would you advise to a fresh graduate, whether we should proceed by, by practicing into litigation or non-litigation part? And so I would like to understand both, the facets of both. Also, sir, if you could suggest a few good law firms that we could join, and some important course that as a budding lawyer we should definitely opt for if we are inclined towards making a career into IPR. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. See, first of all, I'll try to understand one thing, that in IPR you should try to learn everything in the beginning. Don't go for specialization in IPR at the beginning. Try to learn everything. There is also something called a basic work, prospecting of IPR. Then there is IP litigation. Then there are IP licensing. There are so many other fields. So try to learn everything. When you start learning these basic things, you will try to identify yourself where you are expert into it. Yeah. And the question regarding the law firm, there are so many law firms who have devoted IP field. They don't get people to work for IP. Yeah, so there are so many law firms in Mumbai itself, and Delhi is a hub for IPR. Every second, third person is having a law firm in practicing in IPR. If you are from Delhi, you will not have this problem at all.
I have completed my engineering, and I want to practice in patents, and I have completed my LLB also. And my wisdom is that I want to start the law firm with basically having concentration on patent prosecution. So I want to know whether the foreign companies or foreign lawyers or foreign firms does entertain the new entrants in this field, because I have seen the many big law firms like KNS Partner and Lex Orbis. So how they entertain the newcomers in this field?
So, do you think that KNS Partner became KNS Partner with the very first day when they came into the field?
Yeah, no.
So someone has to begin somewhere. Someone has to begin somewhere, and if you have some characteristics and features and some ability and caliber, nothing is big and small. In fact, I'll tell you very frankly, my experience is, the inventors outside India do not want big law firm. They want a small firm only. Or they want a patent attorney who will give personal attention to their work.
I have seen, like you have mentioned, that the law firms are concentrated in Delhi and some are in Mumbai.
No, that's okay. That is all there. But see, it's something not like Delhi. Delhi, there are a lot of people who are taking interest. That is why they are practicing more. Here we are bothered about who will entertain me. That is not a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you are standing on a swimming pool deck and thinking that whether I'll be able to swim. You need to jump inside.
Yeah.
And only you will be able to learn the swimming. Nobody is going to teach you swimming personally.
As you mentioned that the law firms are concentrated in this area. As per my observation, currently the IP offices has gone online. Even the PC hearing is also going on. So, and basically I am from Kolhapur. I am having planning to establish law firm in Kolhapur. So the physical presence, whether the physical presence in patent office or in a office or establishing office in Mumbai, does it matter?
Not required. I am telling you, I have come to Kolhapur. I have come to a very famous chartered accountant called Mr. Shah in Ichalkaranji, which is just few. Ichalkaranji, I had met Mr. Shah. You know, when I went to meet him in his office, I had to literally run and catch my train. There are so many people who are after me to understand how do we take trademark, how do I was literally bombarded with papers for filing trademark renewals and filing trademark applications. There's so much of work in Kolhapur. I don't know whether you know or not, the private choppers are maximum registered in Kolhapur in the sugar lobby. There's so much of money and work there. Why come and establish in Mumbai?
I observed that. That's why I'm having planning.
No, I'm telling you, there was one chartered accountant, Mr. Shah. I met him some 10 years back. And I did three patents along with him. He didn't understand anything about patent. But whatever comes, he will call me in his office, make me sit for the full day. And I used to work from there. I have done so much of work in Kolhapur.
Sir, so first of all, I'm also an IPR enthusiast like you only, and I have done my post-graduation in science and then in management, and currently I'm a second-year law student. One good thing which you have shared here, sir, that regarding the patent attorney. So I would like to know more about the patent attorney, and there is a very unique word that you have actually revealed here, that is patent valuation. So would you like to elaborate more on that, sir?
Yeah, 100%. Why not? Valuation is one of the best favorite subject. I can speak to you for hours and hours. See, it's very simple. How do you value a patent? It's a very important issue. See, how do you value an intangible is very important thing. Like, it came to me when I was discussing with some valuers that if I have to value, suppose a technology today, if I am having, like today I have filed in last 2 months, I have filed at least 3 patents only on COVID testing kits. 3 patents on different kinds of COVID testing kits. Now, these kits have a certain platform and different platforms. So first kit which I filed a patent can complete the COVID testing in 3 hours. The second thing which I filed from a platform that they could complete the testing in 1 hour. And then I came across when I was doing a patent search that Abbott in America has a platform which can do the patent testing or the COVID testing. For positive case, it takes 13 minutes, and for negative case, it takes 5 minutes. If you compare these 3 technologies, they are not violating each other's patent because everybody has a different process. Yeah, no technology is revolutionary; it's only the evolution. If you have a revolutionary technology, you should claim Nobel Prize, not a patent. So if you have to value this 3 technology, how would you value it? How would you value it? I'm asking a counter question to you. What is in your mind about valuation? What do you feel perception? You're a management student also. What is your perception about the valuation?
Sir, it is always when you convert into the revenue or something like.
So you are associating everything to the revenue, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, tell me one thing. The patent which is valid, can patients or can the Indian healthcare industry afford the utility of the COVID kit which is supplied by Abbott? Because that's the costliest kit. That kit cost at least 2 lakh rupees.
Correct, sir. And India being a poor country, the commercial viability has to be there, sir.
And the question is, everybody is talking that once the vaccine comes, this will go away. Do you think the disease goes away from this world?
Yeah, in near future.
Has SARS gone away?
In
SARS
near future,
is existing today also. Swine flu has gone away. So it depends on the future economic benefit of the technology. What is going to be the future economic benefit of this technology? Where do we stand with this technology today? And what is that going to do in near future, say 3 to 5 years? And based on 3 to 5 years economic benefit of the technology, what could be the value after 5 years about this technology? You discount it to today's value. This is the basic valuation concept. Yeah. The question is, what is the economic benefit? Now, that when you value the economic benefit, accounts doesn't come in the picture.
Right, sir.
What is going to be the prospect for this technology in next 3 to 5 years?
Correct. Correct. The viability comes into the picture.
Not only viability, there are so many factors. There is also a factor that this technology may become obsolete, because today what is happening in the product cycle is so small.
Right.
As I told you, technology runs faster than the law and the system. Yeah.
I'm practicing in trademarks and copyright, and I'm from Pune. My question is regarding to IP valuation. So it's been 7 years I'm into this practice. As I started getting clients in IPR, so that's how I moved into IPR. Even I'm working on some patents right now, but I have to take help of my patent agent. And it's always been told that as I don't have science background, so I can never go for patent agent's exam. So my first question is regarding taking patents when I'm not from the science background. So can we do it? And then second question is regarding to the IP valuation, whether the background from accounting or CAs, I mean, chartered accountancy or some account professionals, do we need to have that background to enter into IP valuation, or can we do some courses in IP valuation and can pursue a career in IP valuation?
Yeah. Let me answer your first question. The first question is whether you can become a patent lawyer or not. Correct? Now, we do have a patent law which is talking that a person only with a science background can appear for that exams. That's the system we have to live with it today. But that can change. It is not that you can never become a patent agent tomorrow.
Okay.
If there are proper representations from the proper lawyer forums with the government, and if you have a system, like I told you in America, there is a system that if you are a non-science student, you have to complete a training of 40 to 50 hours in the science field, pass that exam, and then you are eligible for becoming a patent agent. So that type of system can also come in India tomorrow. It's the only thing that we need to represent properly to the government of India. Correct? Yeah. Now, as regards to valuation, whether you should have account and finance background, I don't think so. It is required because valuation is an art. It has nothing to do with finance. Finance is a part of it. So that processing part can be done by anybody who is having financial background. First, you need to understand there are some steps and procedures for IP valuation. In any kind of IP valuation for trademark, like if you take a trademark, let us take one particular brand. Suppose I have to value a brand called Binaca. Now, the Binaca does not exist today, but it's a valid live brand today. If I have to value brand, first I need to understand what is the objective for valuation. Why I am valuing this brand? Is it for the damages? Is it for taking into the balance sheet? Is it for litigation? Is it for say giving it to somebody on record? Is it for public issue purpose? What objective you are valuing that? Then you need to understand if you are valuing for a particular process, then there's a set process for that. You have to follow that set process based on the objective of value. It is not necessary that you should only have finance background. Now, if you want to take valuation as a career, I think this IBC has come out with a proper valuation course for registered valuers. Of course, that is valid only for the purpose of IBC law. That's a different thing. They have 40-50 hours compulsory training. If you complete that 50 hours training, then you are eligible for appearing for their exams. Once you pass their exam, you are given a recognition as a registered value. Now, only thing is that registered valuer are three types. You are either a registered valuer for finance and financial and security assets, you are a registered value for land and building, or you are a registered value for plant and machinery. Now, land and building, plant and machinery, again, there is a restriction that you need to have an engineering background. But financial assets, you need not have an engineering background. You can be even a science background or a commerce background or anything else. So you can always become a registered valuer. There's nothing can stop. And if you become, at least pursue something in valuation is, if you become a valuer for financial assets, you'll understand what is the valuation. That is enough for intangibles.
Sir, I wanted to ask you that I too have a pharma background, MSc Bioanalytical, and I've done complete law. I'm in the final year right now. So I'm interested in patents, and I want to know how can I know the deep understanding of patents, for example, patent validation and patent invalidation, patent validation, patent valuation, patent watch, and knowing other foreign laws for patents as well. So I wanted to know whether there's a book where I'll understand the deep process or patent information search as well. So where should I start to know about all
You
this?
should know where you want to start. At least, first of all, learn the patent law.
Sir,
Understand the patent law and patent law and patent system. Understand basically that you start with the patent law.
the basic patent law.
So if you have understood that much basic, then there is nothing further required that you at least appear. Did I mention you that you should appear for patent agent exam?
Yes, sir. I have registered also, but the dates are not out yet.
That's okay. You appear whenever it comes. This is not going to remain permanent. There's only one thing permanent, is your son-in-law or somebody's son-in-law is permanent in this world. Otherwise, nothing is permanent in this world. This situation will also go. So appear for that patent agent exams, understand the patent, basic things are that. Then you need to understand what is required for prospecting a patent.
Right.
Yeah.
Sir.
As far as validation is concerned, there is something called prior art search. Did I tell you this?
Sir, you taught us.
Yeah. So that's what exactly it is. Yeah. You need to just see. It's not that you're done diploma and everything is over. You need to, as I told you today also I am learning.
Right, sir.
I'm studying the Mumbai University law curriculum, but the thing is, I just wanted to ask, this curriculum will help me go international with my job prospects, as in IPR studies I'm doing with Mumbai University. Will that postgraduate diploma from Mumbai University help me in my job abroad?
Have you done that postgraduate diploma?
I've applied for it, yes.
So you complete that, then you will be able to answer yourself this question. Because the IPR law worldwide is same. The Indian laws are in par with the international laws. As I told you, that you need to understand what is IPR law and IPR systems. Fundamentally, you should be equipped with the systems and the law. And once you are, like, how many of you have studied TRIPS? Does anybody know anything about TRIPS? Those who have even done the diploma in IPR, how many of you know what is TRIPS? So once you understand fundamental of the IPR, I don't think so anybody can stop you from anything. It's only thing is you have to learn the local laws. That's not a question. That's only a question of time. I am prospecting patents in US. I am prospecting patents in Europe. I am prospecting patents all over the world. I am having contacts in 120 countries and coordinating with all the lawyers for so many IPR purposes. So if I go and stand in international market for job, 100% somebody will give me job.
Thank you, sir.
That Delhi is a hub for intellectual property. So is it a good decision for a fresher to practice copyright laws in Delhi, keeping in mind the competition?
Which place you are from?
Sir, I'm from Mumbai.
So not necessarily like you have to go to Delhi. It is not necessary. I just said that hub. So if the information technology hub is Bangalore, so people do business in Mumbai also.
Okay. Okay, sir. So if I get an opportunity in Delhi, so would it be worth taking it, or is Mumbai something that I should be sticking to?
That you should try whom we are trying to work with.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So actually, I am a litigation lawyer, and I have been since 1 year I'm practicing in litigation. But I want to switch into IPR and non-litigation. However, I don't have prior IPR experience, and also I did not take IPR as a subject in my last year. But I approached various firms in Mumbai. I'm from Mumbai, but the firms, they want prior experience of IPR. So how do I get into a firm? Because somewhere I need to start, and I'm not getting that start.
So first of all, you need to basically equip yourself with some basic IP qualification.
Okay.
Why don't you do that? If you are a diploma in IPR, somebody will consider you, even without experience.
Okay.
And do some assignments on IPR. You are a practicing lawyer, correct?
Yes, yes.
So do some assignments on IPR.
So I am a final year law student and I'm about to give my final semester. I have done most of my internships in IPR and want to become an IPR attorney soon. So my question is, should I have not done major internships in IPR non-litigation, but I want to do get a more secure job in IPR litigation. So it is better to go for a senior counsel, IP senior counsel, or for an IPR firm for that.
In litigation, you can learn anywhere. The basic thing is the grassroots of the litigation will be always with the firms. Counsel will do only argument part of it.
So that's why, because I have done trademark filing, copyright filing, design filing. in IPR, but I've never been to IPAB or never done any. I've never been there to see that litigation side of IPR.
So start doing it now. There are IP hearings even in trademark office. Do a TLA hearing, what is called as a TLA hearing. When you prospect a trademark, there is a hearing even in a basic trademark application. So go and start appearing, so you'll get an experience of it.
So because in Mumbai we don't get that much exposure for going to IPAB, we are only
IPAB is not in Mumbai at all. IPAB comes to Mumbai once in a while. So when IPAB is not active for so many years, as far as a patent is concerned, it is not active for last 3 years. So don't think that you have no exposure about IPAB. It is the problem of IPAB, not us.
Okay.
What skills should one develop to work in an IP law firm? What are the main works one is involved in after joining an IP law firm?
It's all depend on your skills and your caliber. Like nobody taught me IP commercialization, but I have a white paper ready on even how to start an IP exchange in this country. Nobody taught me this. I have not done any law firm. I have practiced right from scratch, but today I have everything ready. If I have to even start IP consultancy on asset management, or if I have to start IP exchange also in this country, I am ready. So it's on your caliber, which part of the IP field you want to develop. See, these law firms, councils, they are going to give you platform. Ultimately, it is your caliber and your skills which you develop.
Sir, if we see, there is a very little spending in research and R&D, and very little original work happens in India. So in your opinion, what will be the market size of this IPR industry, like what you are saying in India? Thank you.
Do you think IP is only related to R&D?
Generally, sir, patents are related to original work only. Na?
So there are different types of IP. There are trademarks, there are copyright. In fact, copyright is an untouched IP in this country. I'll tell you, Singapore's 5% GDP is contributed by only IP copyright industry. So do you think only R&D can do IP?
So in your opinion, sir, what will be the market size in India, sir, of this industry?
Market size is very huge. We require lots of IP professionals in this country. I told you IP is a big ocean. Within that ocean, small oceans are there. I feel IP is meant for everybody. It is meant for technical person. It is meant for engineers. It is meant for lawyers. It is meant for chartered accountants. It is meant for MBAs. It is meant for every person in this world. In fact, I was some of my students who are there from government law college, 50% of students are from MSc and BSc background. So I said, you should learn patent. Why are you coming to learn trademark? He said, no, we want to know everything about IPR. So is that something they have come to know because there is no scope?
Right. Nah, I was just thinking,
it is your misconception that there is no R&D in this country.
Nah, there is a very little spending from companies also.
Who told you that it is a little spending on R&D? There's a huge spending. In fact, I have done right from scratch R&D aromatherapy, and I came to know that Indian government has a huge R&D center spread into at least 50 acres of land in Dehradun, only doing research and development for aromatherapies. So how do you can say that there's no spending in R&D?
In my conception was like, other than
You
pharmacy.
have a misconception about that there is no spending on R&D.
Yeah, that's why. Maybe.
If the R&D is not there, we would have not sustained today as a powerful economy.
Right, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
Sir, one question is, what are the current and future kind of jobs that are going to open in the coming years in IPR, and the profile of people who are likely
I'll tell you what is going to happen in coming years.
Yes.
There's going to be huge requirements as far as the patent attorneys are concerned.
Yes, sir.
We have lots of patents, I don't know whether people are aware or not. I am surprised that last year when I saw the statistics of 2018, there were at least 5,000 patents only filed in Gujarat, from only state of Gujarat, 5,000 patents. Now, if there are no R&D, how do these patents come from? And these 5,000 patents are filed mostly by innovators. They do not know where to go to really help them. I have so many queries coming from Gujarat that will you help us in filing the patent? So there is a huge requirement for patent attorneys. Secondly, there is going to be also something like chief IP officer going to be there. Like everything will be IP tomorrow, because if there is no innovation, there is no sustainability in this country. And first of all, I unfortunately, this is not a platform where I can teach innovation. First of all, there is a myth about everybody that innovation means R&D. That's the biggest myth of R&D. Do you think Apple created technology? Do you think IBM created computers? Do you think Amazon created technology? They have not created technology. They have created business methods. And they have created innovative ways to market the innovation. So first of all, people need to understand the concept of innovation. Innovation is the biggest seed for intellectual property. And we have been doing innovation for so many years. And we will be doing more and more in coming years. So there's going to be also, tomorrow I will be not surprised that if there is a designation like Chief Intellectual Property Officer. Like we have Compliance Officer, we have Chief Financial Officer, we'll be also having Chief Intellectual Property Officer. So patent attorney, trademark is absolutely a wonderful field. Like I have a friend who is only doing trademark. And oh God, the kind of knowledge he has, I'm really surprised. Whenever I have a query in trademark, I go and ask that Bible. He's a Bible in a trademark, according to me. So it's not that IP is absolutely, I told you, it's a very big ocean. Like you go for IP due diligence. IP audit is something which is going to come in a very big way in coming years. And IP audit is mine, but it is not like statutory audit. You just do whether this trademark is renewed or not, whether this patent attorney fee, patent annuity fees is paid or not. That is not IP audit. If you have a portfolio of 300 trademarks, what 300 trademark out of this 300 trademark, how much they are contributing to the growth of business, how much they are contributing to the growth of economy of this country. Now, if you have to connect all these three, that is what is IP audit. Now, who's doing this in this country? The IP audit is going to be a huge field in coming years. So that is also the non-litigation right now. Of course, litigation is going to be always there.
Hello, sir. I did MCA, and after that I did law. And after that, I did post-graduation diploma in cyber law from Mumbai University. My question is that tech law and IPR can go hand in hand.
It has to go hand in hand, otherwise it would have not existed in this country.
So, is it okay if I take admission for IPR? Like, should I do that diploma course in IPR? Is it worth for me?
You should go for first specialization in patents. Because information technology is the only industry where maximum patents are going to be filed.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sir, if a new lawyer will ask you to in which field he should practice, what you will suggest?
What field? What do you like in your food? Which is your favorite dish? वो lawyer आपको किसको पूछने की जरूरत पड़ती है कि आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है?
Sir, in which field I should go for my bright career? I can go in any stream.
Yeah, correct. But what is your interest? That is more important.
Sir, where
होटल में खाना खाने जाते हो तो आप लॉयर को पूछते हो कि क्या खाऊं करके?
Sir, anything I can have if there is not compulsion that I.
You have to identify your interest, gentlemen. मैं तो बहुत कुछ बोलूंगा, आप सब कुछ करो. आप सब कर पाएंगे क्या?
नहीं.
So you have to find out your interest, gentlemen.
Sir, what is the scope for IP lawyers in the field of maritime industry or in the petroleum industry?
Huge scope. There are technology everywhere in this country. Maritime, you know what is the most important things in maritime? You are from maritime industry?
No, I am pursuing LLM in IPR from Mumbai University. But I have been interested in the maritime industry since a very long time, and especially the charter contracts. So I wanted to know if there is scope for me as an IP lawyer to practice in the maritime industry.
I have a company who's only doing work for maritime industry only. Maritime and petroleum industry only. Now, have you heard what is the most important thing for maritime industry? What is the most important thing for maritime industry?
Will it be the cargo or the salvage? Because there are vast,
if there is a cargo, what is important in cargo?
The export or the delivery of the goods.
Delivery of the goods, and then if suppose there is a chartering of a vessel, what is the most important thing in the chartering of a vessel?
No, the contract itself, the agreement between the two parties.
It is between the exporter and the importer, and who takes away your goods from your one place to another?
The ship or the owner of the ship, the shipping company, the middle person.
And if it does not reach,
I can't get my finger on the term.
If it does not reach, what will happen?
I understand there is a lot of outsourcing work coming to India from overseas in the IP sector, namely prior art, drafting of patents, patent analytics, docket search, etc. So, is this a field which is growing?
Yes, Sunita ji, in US there are some lawyers who are only practicing prior art search, nothing else. They don't even prospect the patents. There are only lawyers who are specialists in giving you the best prior art search. There are only lawyers who give you freedom of operating opinion. In the sense, suppose if you have invented a technology and you are going for a patent, whether there is any existing patent which will come in your way. So for that, they are only specializing in giving the freedom of operate opinion only in patents.
So, sir, basically also this means that like all outsourcing which is happening of work coming from overseas, this is also work which is capable of being outsourced from these countries to India.
100%. Patent attorneys are very costly outside India. Like I'll tell you, if I have taken freedom of operating opinion in one biotechnology industry from a lawyer from New York, do you know how much did he charge to me? $45,000. Only for giving freedom to operate opinion.
Which could very easily have been outsourced to India at 1/10 to the cost.
If it is outsourced to an Indian patent attorney, he will be able to do the best of the job than them. And just imagine if you are also only paid $5,000, it's a huge amount for you.
So this is an area which is capable of being outsourced and for people being
Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Because see, nobody can afford $45,000 in this country.
No.
Even they will not be interested in paying $45,000 to the lawyer.
Even overseas now, that money is huge.
If you are getting somebody who is giving better opinion to you than the $45,000 in $10,000, where will people like to go?
True. Very
I'm
true.
telling you, freedom to operate opinion is such a big field outside India, and absolutely it's mind-boggling. And with the internet, it can be done even in India.
Absolutely. I understand that there are outsourcing companies in the north.
There are KPOs and LPOs who are working on this.
Yes. So, and I believe they are quite large in
absolutely
size.
Huge.
Yeah. So that's also an opportunity for
Great. I'm telling you, IPR is a big ocean, and within that big ocean, there are small oceans.
So were I to say that for a person who is graduating in IP, you can A, start your own practice, B, work with a law firm, C, work with an independent counsel also, and can work in a KPO.
See, you have to navigate your destination.
Yes.
See, if I sit from Borivali, and if I go to Churchgate and I don't know where I have to get down in between, it is my problem. It is not a train's problem. Train will make you reach to Churchgate and bring you back to Borivali also.
Yes.
Where you want to go, it's something like, that there was a Chief Justice of Chennai High Court once was traveling from Chennai to Bangalore in a train. And next to him sitting was the Police Commissioner of Chennai. And the ticket collector came and asked for tickets. The police commissioner showed the ticket in 2 minutes. The judge was not able to find out where is the ticket. He searched everywhere, and the ticket collector was feeling embarrassed that he's such a big personality, and how do I really tell him that you do not have tickets? So he said, "Oh, it's okay, sir. I know you are a law-abiding person. You cannot violate the law. You must be having ticket. You must have forgotten somewhere." The judge replied very timidly, "Hey, you keep quiet. I want to know where I am going." So that's the problem of the students. Where they want to go, they don't know. Whether this is good or whether this is bad, absolutely you need to evaluate. Nobody said something like that. I am a company secretary, so I always tell, there's always a debate on independent directors. Who's going to define independent directors? Do you think the independent of a person, a conscience of a person will be defined by the SEBI regulations? Will it be defined by some committee's report? Will it be defined by some law? It is the conscience of the person, whether he is independent or not, he will define about it. We have regulations, we have systems that will take its own time. They will play their own role. But ultimately, it is me who have to do something.
True, sir.
What is happening, is this awareness is not there in this country. We need IPR awareness like anything. And I am really thankful that you are doing such a good program on IPR. Nobody has asked me this type of questions before this.
Good evening, sir. I was a career banker for 40 years. I retired as a senior officer from a very big financial institution in the field of agriculture and finance. Now I have recently enrolled as an advocate. I just want to know from you whether there is sufficient scope for IP work in the field of banking and finance. Thank you.
Yes, I have filed so many patents for SBI. Today morning only I got an inquiry that they want to, some SBI's mutual fund wants to file a trademark, and so I had filed patents for SBI relating to the credit cards and debit card technology 10 years back. Finance field is huge. Most of the difficult innovations only happen in finance field.
Okay. So how should I take the baby steps? Can you please guide?
Have some basic skills on IPR. What is IPR? Try to learn systems and the law fundamentally.
Okay. Fine. Okay.
Hello, sir. Good evening. And sir, I wanted to ask, see, there are companies like Boeing, working in aircraft manufacturing, and they have come up with a lot of new innovation in their aircraft technologies. Which, I have seen a lot of patent has been filed by Boeing. If one have to avail this kind of job, who is having engineering background or technical background, and they want to add on to this knowledge and get such kind of opportunity, how to approach such kind of work or such kind of companies?
First of all, you should become a patent lawyer.
Okay, so sir,
you need to become a patent agent. Are you from aviation industry?
Yes, sir. I have served 15 years in the aviation industry, and now, sir, I am in the last year of LLM in IPR.
So then, become a patent agent. Are you an engineer?
Yes, sir. I am an engineer. I am aircraft.
So you can become a patent agent.
Okay, and sir, how to become that? I'm already having.
You have to apply for the patent agent forthcoming exams. They were due in June, but because of this pandemic, they must have not hold it now.
Okay. Yeah. And sir, what's the knowledge one is having
patent law?
Would you please explain the procedure of PCT?
PCT is a administrative system. It's a treaty which is come out of the Paris Convention, where with one single application, you can at least secure a priority date of a patent in various countries. And with that priority date, you can prospect patent in more than 135 countries.
There is a question that, could you explain how artistic work is copyrighted?
Artistic work is copyrighted as artistic work. It may be a painting, it may be a photograph.
Everyone has got their queries answered. You've given very good directions to a lot of the students who are confused, and for which I think, there is a sore need which you filled to a large extent.
I fully agree. See, unfortunately, what is happening, that we do not have awareness of IPR. That's the biggest issue in this country.
So to a large extent, which you have, answered a lot of their query, and you have made them aware. And I'm sure they will explore opportunities in IPR based on what you have told them today.
100%.